We ended up doing a long truck trip down to Hakaba, which is about halfway in between Mogadishu and Baidoa. And we're taking a whole heap of food down, sorghum, to distribute between 2 or 3 villages very close together. We had one of the ADF photographers along that day as well, and the OC made us very aware that this was a big deal, and the eyes were very much on us that day. There was a lot of dramas on the ground. There was a few village elders that had arguments between each other, obviously distributing the food out amongst X amount of people.
I want him by himself, please.
About 3/4 of the way through the day, it was obvious there wasn't enough food to go around, and we actually ended up with a big food riot that day, which was very bizarre. You're taught to hold your ground, stand your ground, and to organise and hold people back and make it as very civilised as possible. But there is a point where you have to just stand back and let things happen. You can't. When you've got a woman in front of you who's obviously getting very distressed that she isn't going to get the food for her family for X amount of days or the next week, and it becomes physical and she's literally trying to climb over the top of you to get to the food, you can't butt stroke her, you can't throw her out of the way, you just have to let things happen. And the good thing is, I think, again, it was another learning experience for us. The book says you will use whatever physical force you need to do to keep these people back. But the reality is, we weren't there to beat up women. We weren't there to do anything like that. And it was good to see that everybody to a man came up with that same conclusion at the same point. The boss didn't have to give any orders. Basically, it was, we just have to let these people through. On a food drop involving that many people, we had a platoon. Maybe we should have had a company. But we were never going to be able to deploy a company for a food drop. You know, having 100 guys there, one food drop on one particular day was not, logistically we just couldn't do it. We had too many tasks, too many jobs to do. In the end, I think everybody can hold their head high and say that on that particular day the right decision was made. No locals were hurt, none of our guys were hurt. It was just a matter of, well, at that particular point, they want the food that badly, they can have the food. The next time we went out, the next food drop was smaller amounts of people, but we definitely were more organised. We got organised quicker with our basically driving star pickets into the ground and actually wiring off certain areas and channeling people a bit better. It all came down to the care agencies that were organising the food drops. We just organised them better, have the people set up on the ground before we get there, talk to these village elders.
It's been getting on. It's the organisation's a lot better now. They're sort of not as hungry as what they were before. I mean, it's good to help people like this.
The joke me and a few of the guys have is we were winning when we left. It's not always easy to articulate, but the first food drops we were doing were disasters. We had starving people that were desperate for food. The last few food drops we were doing before we left, they were patient. They would sit down, they would sing. It was almost a happy atmosphere. Psychologically, it was good for us because we could leave knowing that at least that part of the mission was successful. We got the food out there, we got it distributed well, and you could literally stand back and just let it work itself.